Hello guitar enthusiasts, my name is Lauren Bateman and I'm here at my music school in Massachusetts, LB Music School, and I wanted to share with you today the 4 basic chords that I teach to my beginner guitar students to get them started so that they can have success. So we set a foundation of success before moving on to even more and more complicated things. So what I'm going to show you 4 chords today, which most of them we're only going to need to use 2 fingers, all right? And they're going to be a G chord, a C chord, an E minor chord, and the last one, which will be the hardest, is the D chord. We're going to have to use 3 fingers on that D chord. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the first chord, which is our E minor. So we're going to need 2 fingers. We're going to use the first finger and the second finger on this chord. And what I'll do is I'll show you all the chords and then I'll go in for a close-up so that you can see them from both angles. So the first chord is E minor. And what we're going to do, this is a great chord because you get to play all strings, all 6 strings you get to strum. So we're going to take our first finger, and just as a reminder if you don't know, so the bottom string is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6th string is your top string, the big fat string at the top. So we're going to start at the big fat string at the top and we're going to go down 1 string. So we're going to end up on the 5th string and we're going to be in the 2nd fret. So these little chunks are called frets. And what we're going to do is we're going to move from the from the first string here, this top string, to right here, the 2nd to the top, which is the A string, and we're going to put our first finger right on that string. And right below it, we're going to put our 2nd finger. So I have 2 fingers down, both of them are in this 2nd fret. So it's going to be the first finger is going to be on the 5th string, 2nd fret. The 2nd finger is going to be on the 4th string, 2nd fret. So it will sound like this. So let's do that again. So we're going to take our first finger, we're going to go to the top string, move it down 1. So we're on that 5th string, 2nd fret. We're going to take the 2nd finger, just put it right below that first finger on the 4th string. And we get to strum all 6 strings. Very nice, very nice. So the way to get to your next chord, which is going to be a G chord, we're going to just move 1 finger. So this is why it's good to have a solid foundation of E minor. So we're going to go back to that E minor chord. So as a reminder, first finger is going to go on the 2nd fret, 5th string. The 2nd finger is going to go on the 2nd fret, 4th string. So they're both piled in that 2nd fret. And then all we're going to do, we're going to leave the first finger right where it is, and we're going to move the 2nd finger up to the top string, 3rd fret. And this is going to be our easy G chord. So we go from E minor, we're going to move that 2nd finger up to the top string and over 1 fret to the 3rd fret. And that is going to be our G chord. So for this, I'm going to let you strum all of the strings on this. So to go back to E minor, we're going to take this 2nd finger and we're going to move it back to the 2nd fret underneath the 1st finger. Here we go again. So we're going to do 2nd finger up, and that's going to move to the 3rd finger. Or sorry, the 3rd fret top string. So I'm going to go in for a close-up to show you these 2 chords and the chord changes so that you can see what you need to do before we move on to the next set of chords. So let's take a look at this chord change for E minor to G. We're going to start with our E minor chord. So if you remember, it's first finger on the 5th string, and then we're going to put our 2nd finger right below it on the 4th string of the 2nd fret. Now to get to G, all we're going to do is we're going to lift up our 2nd finger here and we're going to move it up and over. So it's up and over to the 3rd fret on the top string, and you can strum all 6 strings for this if you want. So to get it back, we're going to lift up that 2nd finger, scooch back the 1st, and put that 2nd finger right underneath. To get back to G, we're going to lift up that 2nd finger, bring it up, scooch everything over and up a fret. So we're going to end up on that 3rd fret of the top string and strum. So back to E minor and back to G. Just lift and move that 2nd finger. E minor G. One more time, second finger under for E minor, second finger up and over for G. So the next set that we're going to learn, we're going to move from E minor to a C chord. Now, the great thing about this is you also only have to move one finger. So if we go back to our E minor chord, so first finger, second fret, fifth string, and then second finger, second fret, fourth string, we have our E minor chord. What we're going to do is, for the C chord, we're going to move our first finger. So the second finger is going to stay right where it is. And we're going to move the first finger down to the second string, first fret. And we're only going to play the bottom four strings. So if you can only hit the bottom four, that would be awesome. So to get back to E minor, we're going to lift up the first finger and move it back to the second fret, fifth string. And to get back to C, we're going to take the first finger, lift it up, and move it down to the first fret of the second string and only strum the bottom four strings of your guitar. One more time, we're going to go back to E minor. So lift up that first finger, put it on the second fret of the fifth string. And to get back to C, we're going to lift up that first finger, put it down on the first fret of the second string, and strum. And that is your E minor to C chord switch. I'm going to go in for a close-up so that you can see exactly what I'm doing with my fingers. We're going to take the first finger, we're going to go from the top string to the fifth string on the second fret, and then we're going to put my second finger right underneath it. So if you see, I've got both fingers in this second fret, and we strum all 6 strings. Now, to move to that C chord, we're going to lift up the first finger, and we're going to bring it from the fifth string to the second string. So the first string's here, second string, first fret. So that's your C chord. So to go back to E minor, we're going to lift up the first finger, put it right above the second finger. To get back to C, we're going to lift up the first finger, move it down to the first string, second fret. So it's right here. And then to get back to E minor, we lift up that first finger and we put it back on that fifth string. One more time. So we have E minor, lift up the first finger, move it down to the first, second string, first fret, and you have your C chord. The last chord we're going to go over is a D chord. The D chord is going to be the most difficult chord for you in this set because it uses all 3 fingers. Unfortunately, there's no way around it. You got to use the 3 fingers. But it's good because you can practice getting in and out of those other easier chords to get into D. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our first finger. And we're going to put that on the second fret of the third string. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put our second finger on the bottom string, second fret. So we've got the third string, second fret, first string, second fret. And then we're going to form like a little triangle here. We're going to take the third finger and we're going to put it on the third fret of the second string. And for this chord, we get to strum the bottom 4 strings. So let's do that again. So we're going to take our first finger, we're going to put it on the third string, second fret. We're going to take our second finger and put it on that bottom string, second fret. And the third finger is going to go on the second string, third fret. So it's sandwiched in between. Now, for practicing, we're going to go back to that E minor chord because what do you know? The first finger and the second finger are used in the E minor chord, and the first finger is on top of the second finger. So this is great because when we move to a D chord, what I want you to do is I want you to move these 2 fingers down and just spread them out so that there's a string in between them. So let's go back to E minor. So we're going to move the fingers down. First finger is going to go third string, second fret. Second finger is going to go bottom string, second fret. And then we're just going to add that third finger to the second string, third fret. So when you're first practicing, just practice moving those 2 fingers. Just getting those 2 fingers to move between E minor and D. E minor, D, and then you can add the third finger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in for a close-up so that I can show you guys this transition so that you can practice going between the different chords. All right, so I'm going to show you the close-up of the D chord before we go to the chord switches. So here, we're going to start with our first finger. We're going to count up 1, 2, 3 strings, 2nd fret. And our second finger is going to go on that bottom string, 2nd fret. So you see they're both in that 2nd fret. And then this third finger is going to come up and it's going to end up on the 2nd string in between on the 3rd fret. And you can play the bottom 4 strings for this chord. Now when you first play, you might get some muting. It probably means that your fingers are laying flat. You really want to play on your fingertips, and that takes a little bit of time and practice to get that. So if you're hearing that muting, don't worry about it too much for now. Worry about getting the chord shape correctly and then straightening out those fingers so that you play with the fingertip. You can probably see where the string is digging into my fingers. You'll play on the fingertip as opposed to the pads of the fingers. So here's our D chord again. We got the first finger on the 2nd, 3rd fret. Sorry, 2nd fret, 3rd string. 2nd finger on the 1st string, 2nd fret. And then 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. So now if we're going to go from E minor, let's go back to our E minor chord. So we have our 1st finger and 2nd finger. We're going to move these 2 fingers down. 1st finger is going to go to the 3rd string. 2nd finger is going to go to the 1st string. Let's put that back. So back to E minor. 1st finger down to the 3rd string. 1st finger down, or 2nd finger down to the 1st string. Once again, E minor. 1st finger down to the 3rd string. 2nd finger down to the 1st string. And 3rd finger is going to come right in the middle on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. So we're going to go E minor to D. E minor to D. E minor to D. One more time, E minor. 1st finger to the 3rd string, 2nd finger to the 1st string, 3rd finger to the 2nd string, 3rd fret. And that's how you transition between E minor and D. So there you have it. Those are my 4 basic guitar chords for success. Usually what I do for my students is I have them practice switching between all the chords. So E minor to C, E minor to G, E minor to D, and then I'll have you switch between C and G, and C and D, and then the last one would be going between a G chord and a D chord. If you can learn these 4 basic chords, you have access to thousands upon thousands of songs that you can play just as a beginner guitar player. Even if you didn't learn any other chords on the guitar, if you just learned these 4, then you would be able to play thousands upon thousands of songs. So that's why I teach these 4 chords to my students first. I would recommend just sitting and practicing these chord changes until you get them down pat, because then you'll have access to start playing songs, strumming more, and having a lot more fun with your guitar. So take your time, learn these chords, go back and forth, and then you can visit my website, which is laurenbateman.com. I have lots of little chord charts on there that actually use some of these chords. So you can go ahead and figure that out.